My name is Max, and I am an alcoholic. I got my clock. Oh no, that's not a clock. They're recording me. Don't incriminate myself, right? I've been told I'm not allowed to swear or talk about drugs, so I'm not going to, or at least try not to. You guys have something very magical here at this group. I've been coming here since I got out of prison and been sober, and I don't come here all the time, but when I do, I feel something in this room, and it is absolutely amazing. Briefly, I did meet Jordan at the dry dock. I think he might have been a couple weeks sober about 10 years ago, and Seahawks were playing the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and we beat the brakes off of them, and me and Jordan used to buy booze from the same type of people in Everett, Washington. Never crossed paths, but when I met him down here, instantly fell in love with the guy. He's absolutely amazing, and I spoke at your 1 year, I guess it'd be about 9 years ago, right? So blessed to be here today and speaking again on his 1 year. But my sobriety date is 6/26 of 2012. I have a sponsor. I sponsor other guys. My sponsor has a sponsor. I'm real big on doing the work. And so my life started, I was born into an alcoholic family. I was born in Tampa General Hospital. We moved everywhere, all the time. My brother counted, he's in recovery too. My mom's in recovery. My whole entire family are addicts and alcoholics. Not all of us are sober, not all of us are alive. But we moved, 40, 50 times, and ended up in Georgia for a while. A bunch of bad stuff was happening. Parents couldn't stay sober. Mom moves to Australia. Instantly abandonment issues, anger issues, felt unloved. And then at that time we moved to Seattle, Washington. I went from the hood in Georgia to middle white class suburbia in Seattle. Total culture shock. I had a side spike, and I used to fold my pants, and thought I was cool. I got up there, it's definitely not cool. My name is Max. I was called Maxi Pad all the time, and brief story. I was called Max Pad all the time, and I was getting mad about it, getting bullied, and I asked my dad what I should do, and he goes, you just punch him in the nose. And so that's how I solved my problems. I would when I felt hurt or whatever, I would just use violence. And I started drinking. I stole my first beers from my dad when I was 10. Started smoking cigarettes, stole my stepmom's Virginia Slims, the 120s. They were like smoking on like a rolled up piece of paper, and I loved it. I seeked attention because I never got any attention, it felt like. And so whenever I did something wrong, I got a lot of negative attention. And in my opinion, it's equally as good, if not better. Oh, man. Get struck by lightning. So I struggled my whole life, fitting in. We were poor, and I just struggled fitting in, and I found my people. It's called the crash, right in between the middle school and the elementary school, and I started smoking alcohol and stuff and doing all of that. And if you can do it, I've done it, and I did it in excess, and I loved it. It was my escape. It was my higher power. It was my God. And caught my first felony at 16, and I thought life was over. I was like, I'll never get a job, never amount to anything, might as well just keep going, right? Like every excuse you could think of, I was able to find. Got a DUI at 21. That was exciting. Said I was the nicest drunk they ever pulled over. And I was like, do they know what they're talking about? But I guess I was nice that time, which was good. But throughout the jails and all the incarcerations and everything, I struggled with every aspect of being okay just with myself. And the alcohol was my solution. And I burned my life to the ground. I hurt every single person around me. And I always use the excuse, the victim mentality. If you had my life, if you went through what I went through, if you had what happened to you, you would do the same things. And getting sober, I realized that was my alcoholism, trying to capture me and cage me and keep me down forever. And I've got a a bunch of felonies throughout this whole thing, and but the one that I want to talk about is I stole a stupid little statue. I scrapped it. It was red brass. I got $80. I went and bought some booze, and that charge pointed me out and gave me prison time. I was looking at 18 to 24 months at that time, and in my ego, was like, it was $80, right? You know, not even thinking about all the damage I've caused and everything I've stolen and all the lies and all the manipulation and all of everything. I was still like, you can't do that to me. Well, it happened, and it might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. I got sentenced to a year and a day at the Walla Walla State Corrections in Washington State. And I was sitting in, they make you go through classification, and I was considered a high violent. And so I'm sitting in Shelton Prison, in the classification prison, waiting to get to my mother institution. And I was on 23-hour lockdown. I just wanted out of my cell. So I was like, oh, I'll just go get my GED. Give me 2 weeks out of my cell, you know, listen to Evanescence, crying, playing Minesweep, you know, like I didn't study at all. You know, like you can't tell an alcoholic what to do. Defiance, like if you have the character defect, I do too, you know. But so I took the test and I passed, and I'm like, yeah, I am brilliant, you know. Like I got a GED, you know, at 31 years old, like I'm amazing. And during that time, I was able to snag a little big book, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll go to Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. And so I went to this meeting. Big dude, he was yoked. You could tell he had been down like a long time, and he was on his third time, and he stands up at the beginning of the meeting, and he's yelling, and he's like, you don't want to be like me, and he's like just like so aggressive, and he's pointing at me, and I was just like, oh God, you know, like, but my ears were open, I listened, and I didn't want to be like him. And I went back to my cell, and I started reflecting, and about the amazing life I had to arrive at that moment, and I didn't want to be like that. So I started really reading the big book. I started going to the meetings, and I'm a name drop. Chris over here, he wrote a story in the Grapevine, and I read this in Washington State almost 13 years ago, and it changed my life. I read it, I felt it. Something happened reading that. I started diving bigger into the big book. I do my sentence, dude, and I'm on fire. I walked through prison like as if I had the cloak and all of the armor of God on me, like not one write-up, didn't get in trouble, I didn't get extra time, I didn't get in one fight. Like, that was God. And in prison, I hit my knees and I prayed to a God I hated my whole entire life that I never knew. And from that day, my life changed. I got out of prison. My brother, he was in recovery. He had a little over a year at the time. And he's like, you want to move to Florida? And I was like, yeah. So I show up to Florida, sleeping on his couch. He relapses and says, you got to go. So I already had a girlfriend, you know. I was, 2 months out of prison, dude, feeling pretty good. I was a little buffer. I was a little fatter now, a little skinnier, but I was looking probably the best I've ever looked in my life. She snatched me up, and now she's my wife. We've been together 11 years, you know. But she let me move into her sister's house, and I just hit the road running with the recovery. I didn't care what happened. I wanted to stay sober. I liked the feeling of God. I liked everything that it had to do. And if you ever read the big book, and I pray to God you do, and all of you celebrants, dude, you guys are amazing. You guys keep it up, and especially the people coming back are new. This stuff works, man. It works. Even if you don't think it works, just keep trudging forward. But there's a spot in the big book, and it says, who are you to say that there is no God? Looking at my life, I was like, yeah, who am I? I'm a thief, I'm a liar, I'm a cheat, I'm a manipulator, I'm everything that you could ever not want to be. Who am I? And then it says, are you willing to believe, or do you now believe? And I was able to answer that question. Like, I'm willing. And it absolutely changed my life. I didn't know what God I believed in at the time. I was just seeking and trying to build that relationship. Had a couple sponsors early on in recovery. Landed on my current sponsor now. He has saved my life. Like I've done step work with other sponsors, and I really felt really close to this man. And I keep digging harder, and sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional, dude. This is, this whole last year, dude, like I had a mental break. Like everything's been fun in recovery, let me tell you. But I want to keep digging because I still don't feel whole. And I feel that God loves me, and I feel that God is with me. And I feel that my human nature wants to remove me from that. My alcoholism wants to steal whatever peace and sanity that I have. So getting to the third step, I made a decision. And the decision was to follow through with this process and to keep going. And I've been told, I've heard it in 1,000 meetings, like you can always get your misery refunded. And I was like, all right, like I can always go back to that bad life. And it's hard not to swear, bro. I work in construction, and it's like every other word is a word you're not supposed to say, I guess. But I wanted to change, and the decision was to continue on with the process, And so I did my fourth step. I look at it like that first beer you get at the bar after a long day's work and the foam's kind of over it. I just kind of like swept off the foam. I kind of like burped the system. And so as I continue, I just keep doing these inventories, and I keep landing on my childhood, things that happened to me, and all the abandonment issues. They want to just tackle me. And so I continue to write, and I share it with my friends. I try to stay vulnerable, and I try to work with the guys and just try to share my experience. But the fifth step, when I did it with my current sponsor, it was different. It felt different. I felt like I was able to be way more honest and way more open, and to me that was absolutely amazing. Are you my timekeeper? I got 2 minutes. Sweet. All right. So I've been sober 12 and a half years. I absolutely love my life. I'm grateful for this program. It introduced me to a God that I know today. It introduced me to my whole entire circle of friends. They've held me up when I couldn't stand, and I try to be there for them when they can't stand. And just like the 4D boys, dude, like I dressed up for you today. Got the hair slicked back, dude. Like feeling pretty good, but I don't look as good as them, but I'm trying. I just stay close to the people that have helped you, and like don't forget to reach your hand back and help the next guy, and just keep your arms straight, try not to drink, and try to find some type of higher power, That's literally the key to all of this, is the spiritual experience, and to just introduce you to a higher power. That was short, that was condensed. My name is Max, I'm an alcoholic. Thank you.